The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Steve Johnson, Chris Sanders. What's good, fellas?
What's going on? Beautiful day to talk about some good fights.
Definitely. It was a beautiful day yesterday and today. I'm up and about, moving around and, retrospecting as we'll talk about the fights of yesterday, which were pretty good and exciting.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is beautiful outside. You know, it's that time of the year. We got basketball playoffs. You got your New York Knickerbockers playing this afternoon.
Game 7, baby.
Trying to get that Game 7 win against the Pacers. How you think that's going to go down? I guess I don't even have to ask you with the gear you got on for the people that's watching on YouTube.
Come on now. Game 7 at home. I imagine LeBron's going to be special today. House is going to be rocking.
How'd y'all even let it get to Game 7, though?
Listen. We're here. We're at home. It's going to be electrifying. It's gonna be amazing. Just stay tuned. That's all. Just stay tuned. That's it.
Hey, those Villanova boys better show out tonight.
They're gonna be they winners. That's all I know. They know how to win. Let's get it. Game 7, baby.
Yeah, on the college level, but this is the NBA, baby.
Hey, listen, we here for a reason. You know, it don't matter how many games. It's about getting through the next series, and that's what we're doing today. We're gonna win at home. That's it.
Hey, I hope Spike Lee, I hope he's not a bad luck out there.
Nah. It's all. We don't even need that energy. We at home. Game 7. The energy's gonna be amazing. We got it. No problem.
And it's another Game 7. The Wolves and the Nuggets. Who you got in that one?
I don't know. I don't want to go. It's gonna be tough to beat Denver at home.
Anthony Edwards, they say he's looking a little MJ-esque and Kobe-esque.
It's going to be tough. We'll see. This is going to mark his career right here. This is going to define who he is on his stepping stones.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Jokic fan, but I mean, you can't deny that he's dominant, but just not the type of style of play I like watching. But, 3-time MVP, you can't deny that. But definitely a good afternoon of basketball, but a lot going on in the boxing world, fellas. Before we get to the fights that happened over the past few weeks and the big fight yesterday, let's talk about some stories that are in the news right now. A fight we talked about the last time that we had one of these shows, Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. And then subsequently after the fight, Mr. Ryan Garcia he tested positive for a banned substance. His A sample tested positive for an anabolic agent, Ostarine, the day before, and the night of the fight where he beat Haney. And they're saying that his B sample will be tested on May 22nd. And then a news that broke out a couple of days ago, Devin Haney, him and his attorney came out with a statement, say that they want instead of just having it a no contest, they want it as a DQ win that would restore Haney's undefeated record. So it's a lot going on with this story, especially with the fallout. I don't know. What were your thoughts on when this all went down, Chris?
That's all for the paperwork, but we all saw the fight. We always witnessed. It don't matter what he tried to do behind the closed doors, trying to erase him. We saw it in live time. I don't agree with anybody cheating. I don't agree with anybody taking anything, especially getting in the ring to fight someone else. That's someone else's life on the line like that. So, you taking supplements or anything you taking to enhance your ability could actually hurt somebody. So I don't agree with that. But on the long story end, like we saw the fight. It don't matter what if he tried to get that L taken off or whatever, we saw it and it wasn't pretty for him.
Steve?
Yeah, you said before and after. And looking deep into it, I wonder if the commission is going to be responsible. I think we talked about it. Boxing doesn't have a certain, what do you call it, a union or a governing sort of over, like other
Governing
sports.
body?
Yeah. Other than the commission. So I guess it's like more free. So not saying corruption doesn't happen. It's like out of all the times in his career he didn't pop, and you would figure he would take it for Gervonta, and then as decisively he beat Devin, like you think not saying he didn't pop, but I think it's crazy out of his whole career. And based on the controversy behind it and ruffles feathers that he'll pop up with Ostering. But more concerning, was there background dealing with Devin Haney to agree to the fight? That, hey, he popped dirty, and do you want to fight him? Because why would they let him fight him and the commission's going to be responsible? That's what I'm confused about.
I don't know if they came out with this information, but like you said, if he popped before the fight, did they divulge this information to Haney? Because if not, that seems pretty
I believe
messed
they
up.
already knew. Yeah, I believe he already knows. And a lot of those fights they already know, but sometimes they're just so confident and they don't want to look for a new opponent. It's like, all right, whatever. You just gotta pay me. You gotta get a pay cut or something. Like, yeah, something under the table happen maybe in those types of situations. But for the most part, I see a lot of fights lose the fights because they pop dirty. And it's like, oh, this fight got canceled. Like a lot of other fighters are just not with it. Like, but playing that marketing that those two have bring to the table. I think David Heavy was in pickle. Like, I can't just drop him and who am I gonna fight? Because he really doesn't do the best with the numbers as well by himself. So, they just can't get an opponent just to cover for Ryan. So he probably was in stuck pickle. Like, all right. So I'm sure he knew. Definitely knew. I think it was evidence that he did know.
So
Because it's his camp that's bringing this all out to the public. So I think he did know all this prior.
okay, is it for sure that's what you're thinking?
That's what I think. The news things it's because it's his camp linking all this. It's his camp going and making this a big press about it. He's the one that's talking about it and stuff like that.
So you mentioned earlier, Chris, that we saw the fight and we saw that Haney lost, but it's a couple factors playing into it. So Ryan Garcia blatantly missed weight. He was bragging about missing weight, and he popped positive for a steroid. Don't you think that even though he beat him, he had a few advantages to beat him? So shouldn't that be like tainted? Even though we saw it, it's still tainted.
It is. That's why a rematch is, almost necessary in a sense. Like, to sell that, run that back. Because that's his argument point. Like, hey, you missed weight, you was on supplements. Let's run it back, which you normally see how this goes. But, for him, from my knowledge and what I know about boxers, they know about this information. Especially a fight like this, I don't think Ryan was hiding any of this stuff. So Devin knew about it, and he still agreed to fight in that ring. He lost, but don't. To me, it's like you signed up for it if you knew that information.
What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, he put up a good point. With the caliber of his fighters, the fighters that are already fighting. And basically trained up for the fight. And if it was canceled, who are you going to fight, and or are you going to be in the back pedal of future fights that without this one you won't be installed into the next fight to get the next great fight. I think he could have definitely made a decision to fight him for that reason. I think it's just what were the stipulations of where Devin Haney would benefit financially enough to fight somebody that he knows that is on the juice. I think that's crazy. And I think he was bragging about not cutting all that last 3 pounds, I think.
Yeah, he was bragging about it.
And who knows? And I just want to know how much he got paid, or why would they even pay out a fighter knowing he popped? Like, that's the confusion that I have.
I think when you miss weight, you have to pay like a
Percentage of your purse.
a percentage of your purse. When you pop, I don't know. I don't know the background. I don't know the backstory of that, of like what the contract would say if you.
And how strict are they when they fighters fight in boxing, as far as
that is, I don't even know, because there's so many different, basically so many different belts, so many different rules, so many different contracts. I'm sure there's been tons of fighters that don't even like, they control that, so they don't have to worry about if they're on something or not. Because I think the only one that really made this a big deal was Mayweather, where he would make his fighter, whoever he's fighting against, take multiple random tests as himself. But there's never been really other stories of this happening in any other like fighter. So who knows who's been on it in the past and who hasn't been on it. But when you get caught with it, it's almost like, oh, that should be a canceled fight. Normally that's what I would do. I'm not putting myself in jeopardy that this guy on steroids and I'm fighting against him and he get, damage me for life. I'm not doing that. But there's like that elephant in the room is like, all right, who am I gonna fight today? Everybody just bought their ticket. We're about to have a sell event. It's just big, big marketing. So he was in the big pickle, I believe.
So, Chris, to the point you was making earlier, so he popped like the day before the fight. Don't you think it was like almost like a win-lose scenario for Haney, if that makes sense? So if he doesn't take the fight, he already has everybody out there, and people are gonna say that he's a pussy or something like that, and he won't get paid. But if he takes the fight and he loses, that's a lose scenario because he beat somebody who's on steroids and he could have got hurt very badly. But if he won, then you could say, I beat somebody who's still on steroids. So don't you think he was kind of between a rock and a hard place taking that fight?
That's what I mean. That's my whole argument too. It's like, man, it's like he's in a tough pickle. Like he had to sit down with his team and figure out, everybody got to get paid. We went through all these trainings. I got all these bills in the back end now. I got to pay for all these camps and all these treatments and everything I've been through. I can't cancel the fight. So, and we can't get a replacement in time. So I think he was I think he had no kind of, Ryan put him in a situation like, I don't care. I'm not gonna make weight. And I test positive. It's your ball. You want to fight or what?
Yeah. So I mean, like you said, we saw the fight, but I wouldn't be mad if they turned it to a DQ loss. I mean, especially now we're waiting on this B sample. I think we gotta wait to see what happens with the B sample, and if it comes back dirty, turn it.
Yeah, but the damage is done to the eye, right? Because the average person doesn't look at and doesn't worry about if Ryan was on steroids or not. They look at, we saw the fight, we watched the fight, and we saw what happened. So to only make it right, they have to run it back and run it back on a clean slate, like just nobody on nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna use a kind of a similar scenario, and this is more in your expertise, Steve, in the MMA world. So John Jones got tested positive after he beat Cormier by that head kick knockout. Everybody saw him get knocked out. Do you think, in the eyes of MMA fans, that people still see that as a John Jones win, or you think more so are siding that he was dirty that fight?
I think his domination before and after that fight showed that them steroids didn't matter if he did, which either more of I either took it on accident, or if he did out of insecurity of his skills, I don't think would have mattered at all.
Okay, so you might be right, Chris. People just saw what they saw and they don't care whether he popped or not. But I don't know. If I were in Haney's position, I would still, want the record books to show that's a DQ winning for me. But
Yeah, but anytime he goes against any other fight, they're gonna bring it up. And all he's gonna say is that he was on drugs, and he's gonna be like, "Yeah, but he was whooping on." You know what I mean? Like he was really taking control of most of the fight. I want to say he's whooping on him, but he was taking most of the control of the fight. He dropped him a few times. They got to run it back to make it make sense. That's how I see it.
Do you know, Chris? Was there a rematch clause in the fight? I can't remember.
I'm not for sure.
Yeah, because not Haney, Garcia's been talking about wanting to fight. Was it Bud Crawford or Canelo? No, I think he wanted to fight Benavidez. That's the most recent news. He wants to fight Benavidez, who's several weight classes above him. I think he's trying to deduct that rematch. I mean, I don't think he's scared of Haney, but maybe he knows that he had the advantage. So, first of all, I say they should run that back, him and Haney. Second of all, does he want a death wish? Why would he want to face? Even Canelo doesn't want to face Benavidez, which we'll get into a little later. But you think he's just talking, or you think he seriously wants to take on Benavidez?
He's just talking. Ryan just doing what Ryan does. Now we can't trust him, right? Is he really on the spectrum? Is he really going crazy? Or is he just, playing games around us? So now we can't trust him. Boy cried wolf over there, you know what I'm saying? So he's just playing games. Ryan doing what Ryan does. But I don't think he's scared to take a fight. I mean, after he took his L to Tank, I don't even think he just wants to fight. I don't even think he cares about all that other stuff. Like, that's why he did what he did. Like, I'm here. What I did this. I did this. I didn't make weight. What you gonna do? I'm ready to fight. What's up? That's where he's at right now.
I mean, is he just trying to put the show on for clicks and likes and stuff, or you think he's really got a screw loose?
No, you got to sell. This is still entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is still it's sports, but it's still entertainment. You gotta create yourself as a star somehow, or a villain or something. You gotta do something in the media's eyes to make it sell. You gotta bring attention to you. Everybody that's been great. If you don't have that good following behind you, you're not. What are you to the boxing world? You got to be able to sell tickets as well. And I think Ryan does a good job at that.
Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of eyes on him, especially his presence on social media and whatnot. So we'll see what happens next with this, and I'll be waiting to see what happens with that B sample. But in other news, a guy that's considered the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes, Floyd Mayweather, he just announced that he will have a fight in a rematch, but this will be an exhibition against a guy that he beat in somewhat controversial fashion, Victor Ortiz. This is set to take place August 24th in Mexico City. What are your thoughts on this being announced, Chris?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I haven't really ever since Victor Ortiz lost that match, he hasn't been the same. He used to be like this, aggressive pit bull type of fighter going to your chest, trying to knock you out. When he got that fight with Floyd and he lost, it just wasn't the same. Him and Andre Berto had a few fights that were great, but it just hasn't really transitioned after the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Steve, what are your thoughts on this fight meaning now?
Yeah, 100 years. It's entertainment, but 100 years if it was, serious took in too late. But it's good for the lore of it, how the last fight ended, which is in controversy. And it's funny, I can't remember if I told you this story, EJ, but I had I can't remember who, but they complained to the Mediacom, which is your pay-per-view provider around here, and complained to say that wasn't a fight. I paid for a fight. And the employee gave back the money for free. So I thought that was funny. It always reminds me of that day. Yeah, I think not only that, for Victor Ortiz's sake, to gain some dignity back. And I think it's for what that is, I think it's going to be good to watch.
Yeah. It's definitely gonna be interesting. So both of y'all watched that original fight, right? What do
Yeah.
y'all think? Do y'all think that was a dirty move by Floyd? I mean, they say protect yourself at all times, and Victor Ortiz was, I guess he was, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, maybe he think that the ref didn't say fight again, but y'all think it was a cheap shot by Floyd, or y'all think it was fair play?
Fair play. Protect yourself at all times. That's it.
Steve?
I think when Victor broke the real rules, which is that headbutt, when he got frustrated, I think culturally what you do, handshakes, I think he was like, okay, I'm gonna break cultural rules. So I think that's what Floyd took advantage of, with really fighters would, break up honestly, to where he broke up to where, even fighters give few feet or seconds, sort of like a hand dap at the beginning of the fight, and then somebody brings a flush right down the pipe, right down, like it was a jab or something. Um, that's what I think about it.
To piggyback off that though, they like how many times you're gonna say sorry to him in the ring though? Because he already previously said sorry at the break, said sorry almost like 3 times before that hit came in. So it's like, all right, you said sorry, cool, let's keep it going. He already said continue. Victor was still in this motion to say sorry. I apologize. Like too much. It was almost like, yeah, I get you have respect for Floyd probably in a sense, but it was almost too much respect. You guys are not sparring. Like you guys are fighting. So you said sorry. You apologized. Boom. Let's get it back into the motion. I think Floyd was just, hey, the ref continue. He continued.
That's true. Y'all both make good points, but I didn't realize how young Ortiz was during that fight. That was 13 years ago. He's not even 40 yet. I mean, he's our age basically. He's 37. When that fight happened, he kind of fell off, like you said, Chris. After that, I mean, he's still relatively young. His last fight's been 2022, so he fought 2 years ago. I didn't even know he was still fighting. And recently,
Yeah,
I thought that's crazy because like I hadn't really heard any noise from him since the Floyd fight. He got that payday, but
I was say it's a good payday. He got a good payday. He got 2 of them. I think he got like a couple of big paydays. I think the
yeah,
Andre Berto fight rematch was a good payday for him again as well. That first one they had was that was a beautiful fight. Those two.
definitely. So Floyd's legacy is cemented in stone, but are y'all a fan of these exhibitions that he does? He does like once a year, basically. Are y'all a fan of this?
I mean, why not capitalize on it? You got YouTubers doing it. You got other people in other genres coming in and doing it. So why not one of the biggest faces of boxing do it? And it gives you opportunity to see him fight. It's not too much stress on his body, and he's not fighting. He's not putting himself in harm's way by fighting. Super hard, tough competition. These are all expedition matches, so it's all at the end of the day for fun.
What do you think about these exhibitions, Steve?
It's either you got to put your pool in the professional, pool, in which he's retired. And if we did, like he said, Chris said, if we don't have another lane, you're just going to see your best fighter you wish he would still fight on the couch who's retired, who doesn't necessarily want to fight professionally. So it's either we have these exhibition fights or there's no platform for these fighters. Like, man, I wish he can go throw another punch in the ring again. We wouldn't be able to see that. So for what it is, at least we get to have some people off the couch, at least entertain, to see them in a serious, I say serious sparring match.
So I mean, they don't bother me that much, but in Floyd's instance, what is there really to gain besides maybe a paycheck? I don't know how much he's getting paid for these fights, but I mean, I figure he's made $1 billion during his professional career. And then what if he somehow gets knocked out? The guy goes a little bit hard and he gets knocked out, and even though it doesn't count, it was like you said, Chris, people still see that visual. So what do you think about that angle of it, Chris?
Well, that's why he's selling the tickets, because still people that don't love him want to see him get knocked out. You know, so he's still gonna be able to sell. The people that love him want to watch him fight, and the people that don't like him still want to get him knocked out. This is the one that's gonna knock him out. This rematch with Victor Ortiz, this is the time. Victor almost had him the first time. This time he's gonna knock him out. So that's what sells. I think this is good. Again, what do? You try and tell these guys not to fight is almost like, this is what they've been doing all their life since they were a kid. They don't even know how to do anything else. I thought Floyd was gonna fight Pacquiao. What happened to that? Anybody know?
I
That's
think
still
that
going
fell.
on?
No, I think
Fell.
that fell through.
All right.
Because I remember them discussing that too, but I think it was in very early stages and nothing got solidified with that. Yeah. So like, you think that would kind of tarnish his legacy in the eyes of like the casual Steve if he got caught or something in an exhibition fight?
Oh, definitely. We see it every time in each combat sport. And I understand these fighters when it seems, how can you see all these positive messages on your feed, but as soon as you lost it, how are these floods of negatives overflowing the positives before you lost? People are going to want to see him lose, and you'll see fans switch up on you overnight. I believe definitely, it's 50-0 is 50-0, and 50-1 is 50-1. One is pristine, one is tainted, and it's a literal brand being undefeated. And one loss is not undefeated, and that's what literally is what makes Mayweather Mayweather. Or else he would just be a fighter with almost undefeated, one loss, great fighter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think even if he were to get caught in the exhibition fight, it would go under the radar just because he's not in the forefront of the boxing scene right now. I mean, people still clown him. You see clips on social media, but I mean, that's the risk you take. But I'll definitely be tuning in once it does go down. I don't know which network it's supposed to be on. I don't know if that's been announced yet. Maybe it'll be on YouTube or something like that, because I'm looking through and I don't see a named network that's going to be on, but we'll keep our eyes out on it. But in other news, something we haven't really touched on in the show, in the gaming world, they just named a date for the first boxing game in like 13 years. Undisputed is coming out on October 11th this year. I know back in college, Chris, we used to get on the sticks and we used to be on 2K. I don't know if you still dabble with the gaming nowadays. I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, no, I still play. I still even play Fight Night on the Xbox. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
So I'm still excited that this is coming out. I learned about it this week myself. I was like, okay, here we go. Undisputed. Let's get it. Let's get it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I know, Steve, you game. You excited about this game coming out?
Oh, definitely. A boxing game probably skipped a whole generation console. I think as boxing fans, and even if you weren't a boxing fan, it's crazy. Probably about, like you said, 13 years ago, you have a memory of actually intensely fighting somebody, digitally, and actually, kind of learning the ropes of boxing and playing the game. Like, man, I hit you with that right hook, and people talking about terms in the game and having wouldn't get that far as me, but boy, the talking shit sessions and people almost getting into it, man, it just brings back memories. And hopefully this game would bring that type of excitement, because I know a flood of people is going to jump on it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited for it. I'm gonna cop it. But as far as like all-time boxing games, I think my favorite is probably Fight Night Round 4. It's close between that and Champion. I don't know what's your favorite boxing game of all time, Chris?
Fight Night.
Just all of them in general, or any
All of them.
specific one?
Yeah. I was playing them all.
Yeah.
Losing too. I was getting beat up all the time. I wasn't good at that game. Wasn't good. Thank God.
How about you, Steve?
I got really introduced into Round 3 and then PS3 Fight Night Champion. So those are my two. And round two, that was when Mayweather was in that one.
You know, I think is a one that like kind of flies under the radar. Ready to Rumble on
That was hard.
N64.
That was hard.
Mhm.
Dreamcast. Wasn't it Dreamcast?
Yeah, and it was on Dreamcast. Yep.
That was hard.
Afro Thunder.
Mhm. Let's get ready to
Yeah.
rumble.
That was dope.
That was game.
Knockout Kings too. That was
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I forgot
Knockout
about
King.
Knockout King. Yeah, that was before Fight Night. It was EA's game before they came out with the Fight Night series. That's a good one, Steve. But yeah, it's gonna be good that they're finally coming out with a boxing game. So I'll be spending a lot of time on sticks when that comes out. But let's talk about actual fights that happened back on May 4th. Canelo Alvarez defeated Jaime Munguia by unanimous decision. And this was just like a standard Canelo fight, like nothing out of the ordinary. He dropped him in that fourth round with that uppercut. But as far as that, he pretty much just cruised to a win. What are your thoughts on the fight, Chris? I'll start with you.
It was a good fight. It was entertaining. You know, I was at a party, fight party, and it was really entertaining watching it. They both showed up. They both, it was a fight I thought was gonna happen. I thought at the end Canelo's just gonna get the numbers, outbox him. I didn't think Canelo's gonna drop him and knock him out like that, or anything in that standpoint. But dropping him was entertaining. I didn't think Canelo could do that. I thought he would just point him and stuff like that. So that was pretty good. But yeah, the young kid could fight, man. The young kid's a big bull. He didn't lose confidence. He kept going, kept trying to attack Canelo, and he made it entertaining himself. I think the kid got a good, bright future in this sport. I don't think losing Canelo tarnished anything in his career. I think it showcased who he is more publicly, and now I think it's his time to grow. So he'll be fine.
What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
It looked like a very interesting fight. Now this was at his middleweight bout, or is this one of his? He went up like with what's his name?
No, this was a middleweight. I think it was like 160, right?
I think it was at 168.
So, I believe so.
It's either 160 or 168.
And basically my point, I think he went up in weight with that fight.
Yeah, with B-Ball, when he fought B-Ball at 175 at light heavyweight.
Right.
This one was at 168, the Munguia fight.
And I say that because I do catch Canelo fights, but I feel like and this one, not even in the better beef, you said
it was the B-Ball.
B-Ball, I'm sorry. He took a lot of hits in this fight, more than any other fights. Yeah, I felt like and like you said, Canelo, it shows a dog, and although a person is a dog until you find adversity to see if he's still that, I think Canelo was surprised on how persistent he was, because the dude was still getting at him after he was getting caught, tagging Canelo. I see Canelo's favorite little combination was an uppercut, left hook, and I think that's what he dropped him with. Dropped him with that one, a hook or a left hook or uppercut.
Uppercut.
Yeah. I think Canelo and both of them did well, and I think that dude, which I didn't know him, it was definitely a top contender, and I didn't know Canelo was a type of fighter to take a hit. And because I saw him literally get decked by a dude, the right hand, and he came back and stunned a dude. So Canelo surprised me also. I think it was a good fight and a good test for Canelo. And I don't think he's had yet in his career. I may be wrong if I haven't seen all his fights, but I think he was actually contested.
So, Chris, you said you didn't really expect him to get him out of there, but you don't think that he should have tried to get him out of there just to make a statement? Because like Munguia he's a good fighter, but he's not a household name or anything like that. So to the eyes of the casuals, people expected him to make light work of this dude.
Well, you got to remember, Canelo. These guys are really this weight. Like even for Canelo to drop him, it's like wow. That to me is amazing because even when Canelo fights at this weight, you could tell size wise, built wise, it's almost like he doesn't belong there at all these fights. He's like always small. I think he's what 5'8". These guys be like 6 feet, 6'2", 6'1". They're a lot bigger. They look stronger. They got the reach on them. But he's just a dog. He's just a good boxer. He's a dog. He knows how to fight. He knows how to turn it on. He got good angles. So it protects. He knows how to protect himself in there. So it just makes it entertaining to watch stuff like that because, even though Canelo's Canelo, really looking at the physical of it, he's always pretty much the underdog. Like he's a smaller guy. He doesn't have the reach. Besides the boxing skill, he's almost the underdog looking into it. It's almost like he's always fighting David versus Goliath. He's always a smaller guy going against these bigger guys in his weight division.
So that we got to address the elephant in the room. Y'all think if he doesn't fight Benavidez next, it's officially a duck?
I don't think it's a duck. Does Canelo need that fight though? Does he need that fight?
I think so for his legacy.
I mean, if he retires right now, where does Canelo go?
What do you mean, like Hall of Fame or?
Yeah, he's already like his legacy is already set in stone. Like I think he's good. I don't think that hurts him. I mean, for the fan, for us, yeah, he needs to fight him for sure. But business point, I don't think he needs to fight him. He could sell out with fighting one of us right now. You know what I'm saying? Like he could sell out. He don't need that fight. It's not like he needs it. He can give up every bill. He don't need a bill to bring to sell out at night. He don't need no backing. He's Canelo. So when it comes to business, does he really need that fight? No. As a casual fan and us watching it, yeah, we need that fight for sure.
He always talks about how he takes on all comers. So if you're really about that life, you got to take this Benavidez fight. And I think it's a duck if he doesn't face him. Maybe he could get past not facing him this fall, but if he ain't facing him by next Cinco de Mayo, then we got to have a serious discussion on whether or not he's just ducking the smoke. And I don't think he wants to fight. I mean, that's always been a knock on Canelo that he doesn't really face Mexican fighters. Munguia was Mexican, but you look at all the fights before that, he didn't really fight Mexican fighters like that. So, and Benavidez, he will go in there to try to knock you out. So I don't think he wants that smoke. We saw, and then people talk about how big Benavidez is. Benavidez still fights at 168, that super middleweight division, and Canelo went all the way up to light heavyweight and won a belt. So I don't want to hear about that. They both fighting 168. They both, make the weight. So you got to go in there and fight him, I think. But I don't think he will. But we'll see. It'll surprise me if he does. But like you said, he's Hall of Famer, but you still want to test yourself against the best. And people are saying Benavidez is the best in that division. So let's make that fight happen. But let's talk about another fight that happened a week or so back. Back on May 6th, we had Naoya Inoue defeating Luis Neri by not TKO, KO in the 6th round. And in a way, he showed some heart in this one. He got knocked down in the 1st round. I'm like, uh-oh. But then he bounced back. I think he dropped him and Neri in like the 4th round or so, and then he got him out of there the 6th round. Chris, what were your thoughts on this one?
Very entertaining on this fight. They were going at it. This was a fight. This was a fight. Just watching it, they were just going at it. It had you on your edge. You really didn't know who was gonna win, honestly. No one was controlling the fight. In my eyes, it just seemed like a battle. Like it could switch just like that.
Steve?
It was a good fight. And always been a boxing fan, but I feel like I'm resurfacing since I left it for a while, getting back into the lore of it. Probably since Mayweather left, but now getting to know the fighters and EJ telling me about Inoue and stuff like that, and now embracing these fighters that y'all are telling me that are high class fighters. I'm like, okay, I'm looking at him. So basically, my point is looking him getting knocked down. Like, whoa, this ain't supposed to happen. Like, and it made me look at the highlights deeper to see you can get caught in the lore of casual fan, even as a fan, thinking somebody's invisible, and I didn't expect Inoue to get. And I thought, like, well, before I didn't even know the results, watching the highlights who was going to win, thinking like, oh, is he going to win this? And dude caught him pretty good. But I'll tell you one thing, I think that woke him up because he started honing in almost like tunnel vision and precising his shots after he got knocked down and it was able to get one of his own. I think he did a amazing job and to get knocked down, buckle down, and almost get serious and remember where he's at and get the job done.
So, in a way, he is undisputed champ down at 122, the super bantamweight division. So, you think he made a case to be number one on the pound for pound list right now? Terrence Crawford is still number one. You got Usyk at number 3, even before they hadn't even done a new ranking since the fight yesterday. And then Canelo's at 4, Bivol is at 5, better be at 6. Y'all think in a way made his case to be number one pound for pound?
I mean, stats wise, yeah. But watching the fight, honestly, you saw it, and he did zone in, but his defense still didn't look the best. Very offensively, there was like some flaws in there, and who I don't know too much about him to see who he has fought, who's on his resume, who's he's beaten. I mean, he got the belts and stuff, but I don't know who he's beaten. So to put him on that list, you gotta, beat a couple of names. And I don't know who he's beaten, to be honest with you.
He's beating who he's supposed to beat, not any household names. I don't think he's, it's hard to face somebody in pound for pound because I mean they have to be in your same weight class. But yeah, you can make a case that his resume is not there as far as name value, but I mean, he still gets the results. And we've talked about some previous shows. I think it'd be hard for him to go up weight because he's not like a big guy at that weight class anyway. Because people are talking about maybe him facing not a Haney down the line, a Davis down the line or a Stevenson. But I don't know if he could, go up that much. But I don't know, Steve. Pound for pound, Chris made some good points about him having some offensive flaws. You make a case for him maybe being number one at pound for pound.
And you said who was?
It's Terrence Crawford is number 1, and then you got Usyk at 3. You got Bivol at 5, Canelo at 4. Better be at 6. I mean at 7 or 6 or 7, one of the two.
And y'all was saying who are y'all talking about that you think has a good case?
In a way, just the way he goes in there, he stops everybody. But Crawford is still number 1. I'd say Crawford still has the edge, but I don't know, man. In a way, stays on the track that he does, then you can make a case for him. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You gotta fight people. I mean, his resume don't look that impressive, to be honest. Yeah, he's knocked out everybody, what you said, but his resume, like who are they? And just seeing it, we gotta see a little bit more of him because even watching this fight, we saw that he's small. He's not that big. He's not, and to go up in weight to find no other weight, he's gonna be even smaller. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you only can fight the people in front of you. I think the only way he can start, getting more people's respect is if he keeps going up weight classes. Maybe he could naturally do it, but I don't think he should rush because we saw what happened when Broner rushed up weight classes. That was very detrimental to his career. But we'll keep an eye on him anyway and see how he does moving forward. But another fight before we talk about the fight that happened last night, back on the 12th of May, we had Vasily Lomachenko defeating George Kambosos Jr. TKO 11th round. And I was very impressed with Lomachenko in this fight. I mean, some people counted him out after the Haney loss, saying that he might be too old, but he just looked faster than Kambosos Jr. He just outclassed him overall, and I was highly impressed. He had some power in there as well. He did what he needed to do. He got that IBF lightweight belt. What were your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Yeah, Lomachenko looked great. His speed was on point. Accuracy was there. He was very in shape. Didn't show his they say he's old and no, he looked young, he looked energized, he had energy. He dropped him with a body shot to end the fight. And yeah, he looked good, looked really good. Very impressed.
Steve?
Yeah, I always enjoy watching somebody like a Lomachenko, uh, kind of borrows from Mayweather / Roy Jones. Very, very elusive and very reflexive. He has good reflexes, which it gives him his counter game. Really good. To which y'all explained that everybody counted him out, but very sharp. And I think he definitely put on a good display of he's not out of the competitive race of competition.
So Lomachenko just won a belt in this division. All four people in the major sanctions have different owners of the belts. You got Davis, he has the WBA belt. Shakur Stevenson has the WBC. And then yesterday it was an upset. Baranchik just got a belt off of Navarrete yesterday. So y'all think Lomachenko should try to face like a Davis or Stevenson and try to unify one of these belts? That's all for you, Chris.
Yeah, I think of course. I mean, he got something to lose. I think Lomachenko should, at this point in his career, he still shows flashes that he got it. He's a good competitor, and he can sell tickets as well. People want to see him fight. So for anybody that wants to fight, or any other individual fighters that haven't built, Lomachenko is a very good competitor for them, and they can sell that fight. So yeah, definitely.
Would you be interested in that Tank Davis Lomachenko fight, Steve?
I definitely would. I can see it being competitive. Of course, Gervonta has his skill, but I think it weighs out with maybe the size factor. The what do you say, so to speak? Styles makes fights, and I think that would be a nice style for Gervonta to fight.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants those Tank Davis problems, but I think I'd be intrigued with that Stevenson fight as well. I don't think he'll get the Haney rematch. Haney went up a weight class, so did Teofimo, who Lomachenko lost to as well. But I wouldn't be mad at either one, the Shakur Stevenson or the Tank Davis fight. But I don't really. We talk about a Tank Davis fight that's about to come up, but I don't know what Tank Davis's long-term plans if he wants to maybe go up. But yeah, Lomachenko shows that he still got some gas left in the tank, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he moves forward. But fellas, let's talk about the fight that happened on Saturday night. Well, Saturday afternoon on our end, Saturday night over there in Saudi Arabia. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk for the Undisputed World Heavyweight Championship. And this fight was won by Alexander Usyk, and I think it was pretty much a pick 'em. I think Fury came in as the favorite, but I don't think he was like a big favorite in this one. And like I said, Usyk was able to get the job done. I had the fight 114, 113 in Usyk's favor. I thought Usyk won the first, second, 8th, 9th, and 10th, 11th round. And I had Fury winning the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 12th round. No, that's 6-6. But I thought round 9 was a 10-8 round. And my observation from the fight was the size difference was apparent. Fury just looked a lot bigger than Usyk, but I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Round 1, Usyk was going to the body mostly, and Fury was landing that jab, but I think Usyk was landing the harder shots. And towards the end of that round, Usyk landed that nasty left hook. And then in round 2, Usyk landed that big shot to open up the round, and Fury settled down and started working that jab again. But still, I think Usyk got that second round. And then moving on to the fifth round, I thought that's when Fury started opening up. He started ripping those bodies, those shots to the body. I mean, and I was like, okay, Fury's finally starting to find his groove. And then in round six, Fury landed that big uppercut that hurt Usyk. And I think if he would have put his foot on the gas that round, it may have been a different outcome. But he was kind of like showboating in there and kind of toying around with him a little bit. I don't know if it's like almost like showing maybe he was tired and he's trying to use that as like a defense mechanism, like showboating there. I don't know. I thought round seven was close. Fury controlled most of it, but Usyk came on towards the end of the round. I think I gave that a slight edge to Fury. Round eight, that's when Usyk kind of turned the tides around. He was landing that left hand, and Fury didn't see it coming. Like I don't know what was going on, but he was landing that left repeatedly that round, and Fury just didn't really see it coming. And then round nine, the biggest round of the fight, Usyk landed that nasty left hand that almost got Fury out of there. He was like wobbling on the ropes. I'm like, all right, it's about to get called off. But no, round 10, Fury was able to recover, and I think Usyk still landed the heaviest shots in that round to take that round. And then in round 11, I think that could have went either way, but I think Usyk won it with that nasty power shot that he landed with like 10 seconds left. And I think Fury run that last round just because he was the busier fighter, but it was just a little bit too late, and Usyk was able to get the decision. What were your thoughts on this one, Chris?
Just how you called it, just how I saw it. Basically, it didn't seem like Fury was, when you're watching the fight, you can see the size difference. And it almost didn't feel like he took advantage of his size. It almost felt like he made himself a smaller fighter in this fight. He got himself allowed to get hit. He didn't move himself out of harm's way. He was taking a lot of shots they shouldn't have taken. As a boxer, you just seen the size difference. Feel like he should use his jab to keep the distance more. But he gave us a good fight to watch. And even though he lost, it just seemed like he kind of didn't do enough to win. That's what it would seem like to me.
Steve?
I enjoyed the fight a lot, even not seeing it definitively entirety, just gazing back and forth what I was doing at the time. And looking at it, and I think I was even hearing, like, I think that's literally, I mean, do you want a dominant champion fight or two fighters just competitively going at it the whole fight? I enjoyed that fight for that. Also, about the fight from what I saw, like you said, it seemed like he couldn't keep him at bay with his distance like Fury does all the time. And Usyk was getting in there, tagging him with left hooks, and like you said, caught him with it. And I don't know, maybe Usyk was a little quicker on the feet than his other opponents, to where he couldn't sort of stick move. And maybe to your opinion, Chris, like, did you see him? Probably, of course, he was on top of his game, but do you see him like slowing up since the Ngannou and in this fight? Do you think he's slowing down? You think this is the actual fighter you just had to have competition with, or?
I think the size difference matter. I think when you fight the smaller guys, they usually got more speed than you. They're a little bit more quicker than you, so that showed. Fury's not the fastest person in the world, but he's very boxing. He's very technical, but he's not fast. And it just seemed like he couldn't get there. It's like his time was a little off. It felt like, he was taking hits that I feel like he could have got away from, or just to redirect them and keep the other opponent at bay. It just seemed like he was control of the fight that he should have been of. And I think watching it as the eye of the judge, or just the eye of it, you're seeing the big difference in the heights and stuff. You figure that he should be taking more control than he did. That's how I saw it.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, it seemed like in those middle rounds, Fury pretty much found his groove. I thought he did, and he was in the driver's seat. And round 8 was kind of where the tides turned. Like, what do you think? What's the cause of that, Chris?
I mean, if you're in the corner and you're telling your fighter, hey, listen, You've been losing the last couple. You need to change it up. You need to get in his chest. You need to, put the pressure on him. It's time now. We're not gonna win these fights going down if you don't do it right now. So, I think that was a good strategy. To get in his chest, trying to get closer to him, make it uncomfortable for him. Don't let him get the distance. That's his normal boxing, and it worked in his favor because as we're watching it, we're seeing a different fight. If you get stayed at bay, taking a lot of punches, we're not seeing the aggressiveness out of him. It's good.
So you think it was more so Usyk adapting and changing his game plan more so than it was Fury losing focus?
A little bit of both. But Fury, I feel like he should have changed his game plan. He should have went to his bread and butter of the fight. I think he got stuck and wanted to be a fighter. Sometimes when you get hit, you want to get that hit back. Sometimes when you get touched, you want to, get that punch back. So I felt like he was just fighting not his game, but fighting the game of his opponent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was like an interesting momentum. It was like a momentum fight, and it was interesting to see the pendulum swing a few times in that fight. But Usyk was able to be the first undisputed heavyweight champion. I think they said in over 25 years or something like that. They're saying they had a rematch clause. Fury was undefeated. He had that draw against the first bronze bomber Deontay Wilder fight, but other than that, he's never been beaten. This is his first loss. Do y'all see a rematch playing out differently if they do make it? I'll start off with you, Chris.
Yeah, it'll be a different strategy, I think, from Fury. So it'll be interesting to see how he recovers and bounce back from this loss. I think he, like you say, he never lost before. So it'll be this will really define his career going forward. Did he improve from this? Did he learn from his loss, or is he going downhill? If he takes another loss after this, then it almost seems like he's going downhill.
Steve?
You said basically should they rematch?
Oh, I think it's probably gonna happen. It's a rematch clause. I don't know when, but I said, do you see the fight playing out differently if that does happen?
Well, of course. If people overcompensate on rematching the clause as far as like the style, and then it's a matter of like what you think your opponent's gonna bank on. To me, do you think he's gonna overcompensate on that left, and does he think that I'm not gonna throw it, and then I catch him off with it? And then let alone looking at tape and having people in their camps and seeing what they're banking on. I think definitely it'll turn out differently. And for who, I don't know, because I think Tyson Fury can get back to the board, and because I think never had to rematch, but I think elite fighters, once you fight somebody, you kind of can download them. I think each one has a chance to do that to each other, based off of how Tyson Fury's been undefeated so far and this didn't come through this fight. I think either one can do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested when they do make the rematch to see how that turns out. If Fury goes back to the drawing board and changes things up a little bit, like Chris said, maybe use his size to his advantage a little bit more, or Usyk has just figured out that puzzle and maybe even win in more dominant fashion. So we'll see what happens. But Usyk came up to heavyweight and kind of ruined all the plans as far as boxing fan goes, and including me. Before he came up, it's like almost inevitable that Fury and Joshua were to fight, and I think they had that fight on the table until Joshua lost to Usyk. I know one thing that ruined it was Wilder invoked his rematch clause against Fury. That ruined it, but Joshua went to fight Usyk, lost twice, and now he beats Fury. In my fandom in boxing, for some reason, when I think of Usyk, I think of him just being that monster down at cruiserweight because he's the undisputed champion down there at cruiserweight. I thought when he announced that he was going up to heavyweight, he would have taken a couple of fun fights. And, I didn't know if he would be a true contender because I thought he was a little bit undersized. But undisputed champion at cruiserweight, now undisputed champion and lineal champion at heavyweight. Where does this put his legacy as far as like all-time great in the heavyweight division or just in boxing in general? I'll start with you, Chris.
He's up there. You gotta mention his name now. You know, he didn't go up there and beat anybody. He beat name brand people. He went up in weight, undisputed. You just gotta tap your hat off to him. It's an amazing accomplishment that he did, and you know, his camp should be very proud of him. He should be proud of himself, and you know, he brought himself to our attention. Now we gotta talk about it. Now we gotta, you know, make it. We gotta watch him fight. We gotta see what he does next. You know, he's entertaining too. He can fight.
Steve?
Yeah, I think to a certain level, once you beat somebody and you're on the come up, so especially like Fury, you achieve the status of being one of those fighters you had to beat, like a Fury, and we talk about Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Like Chris said, man, it's undeniable and be crazy not to talk about somebody who beat somebody fair and square, which is Fury. I think he'll be known from now on and wanted to be sought for to fight instead of maybe, of course, he's champion, but you know, considered B or somebody's trying to come up off my name. No, he is the name now.
For sure. And I know Lomachenko did. I don't know if Usyk, because they're both from Ukraine. I don't know if he went back there and helped out with the war over there. So I don't want to spread any misinformation out there. But I mean, for the casual fans, when they see him as champion, I hope that doesn't shut him away from actually getting invested in them, because you know you had all of those years with the Klitschko brothers and how they pretty much killed the heavyweight division. It was boring, but he's from Ukraine. He's not from Russia, and I don't think people should get that twisted. He's actually an action fighter in there, so I just hope he gets the shine that he should and the adulation that he should. Like, that's something hard to do, and he beat like all the people that you know for this era of being in the heavyweight division, the Joshuas and the Furies. He hadn't faced Wilder yet, but you know Wilder's been kind of on the downslide a little bit lately. But hats off to Usyk, man. And if we were had to pick today, I would pick him as the favorite in a rematch with Fury. I don't know. Fury looked a little shaky going against Francis Ngannou, and now he loses his hair. He needs to go back and focus some more. But definitely a fun fight. But coming up next month, we got some more fights coming up in the in the lightweight division. We have Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going up against Frank Martin. And Chris, what do you think Tank Davis needs to do in the eyes of the fans in this fight? You think he needs to get him out of there?
Yeah, I think he got to get him out of there like he does in Tank fashion. We all want to see him knock out somebody, and I think he's going to go for it. But I think he's finding a good opponent. I think this guy's tricky. He got skills. It's going to be entertaining. I don't think it's going to be as easy. It's going to show flashes that Tank might lose a couple of rounds. You know, he gives us that effect that Tank might lose a round here or there. Might get outshined a few times, but he has that knockout power that's undeniable. So it's going to be entertaining. I believe it.
Yeah, this fight's going down on June 15th at the MGM Grand Garden. So make our official picks. Who you think's going to win this one, Davis or Martin? I'll start with you, Chris.
Davis is going to win.
Davis knockout. How's he going to win?
If he doesn't knock out, he's going to end up turning it up in the second half of the fight and just start outboxing the guy. Believe that.
Steve, who you got in this one?
I have to do some study on Martin, but I can't deny Davis, man. He's been doing his job, and until he proves me wrong, he's a dominant fighter to me. I heard even here in the airways, and I don't know because of the controversy between them, just hearing Mayweather talk about, he may have troubles, or other fighters saying that this is a fight that you shouldn't take lightly. I'll stick with Gervonta, and I will be looking at some Frank Martin highlights to see what they're talking about.
Yeah, he's talented. He's good. He's very sharp. He's very elusive. He's like a modern day fighter. He's very good. It's going to be a good fight. He's going to be able to touch Davis. He's going to touch him for sure. Definitely gonna get to him.
Yeah, I'm going with Tank Davis too. I think it goes into the later rounds, but I just think he'll pressure him and it's going to be overwhelming. And Martin, then I say what 10th, 11th round, he gets the TKO and gets him out of there. But that brings us to the end of the show. We got some exciting fights coming up. Those fights in June, and then in July we got the circus fight with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. So we got a lot to talk about on these boxing shows here on Haymaker Combat Sports. But make sure to follow us on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitters, and make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, and then follow the audio feed on Apple and Spotify. But that'll do it for us here on Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars, cause it's live.